Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for having us. My friend Michael with TransUnion is moderating the session directly after ours, so if that's the one you're interested in, stick around. This one will be great, and then you can see theirs right after. I'm Mark Myers, the Chief Commercial Officer for iSpot TV. We measure TV, streaming, CTV, and social video, and help brands like JPMorgan Chase understand creative measurement, audience delivery, and then outcome measurement for their TV, streaming, and social campaigns. I'd like to introduce our fireside chat today. I'm here with Kristin and Stacy. Kristin Faucher, to my far right, is the Managing Director and Head of Brand Strategy and Advertising for Card and Commerce with JPMorgan Chase. Welcome, Kristin.
Hi, thanks, Mark.
And Stacy Tarver Patterson is Head of Brand Strategy with Code and Theory. Welcome, Stacy.
Hello, thank you.
So we've got a great session today talking predominantly about brand building, brand advertising, and we've got a lot of great things to talk about. So let's just get right in. Why don't we start? We've done a quick intro, but starting with you, Kristin, if you both would just give a quick introduction of your role at your company and the primary areas you're responsible for.
Thank you, yes. I have the privilege of looking after brand strategy and the creative output for our card businesses. So you might have some of these products in your pocket, I hope. One being Freedom, the other being Sapphire. I also have the privilege of looking after some of our emerging commerce businesses. So we launched earlier this year Chase Travel. And if you're interested in learning more about Chase Media Solutions, please be sure to check out the cabana down here at the Media Link Beach.
I will. Good plug. Stacy?
Yeah, I'm Stacy Tarver Patterson. I lead brand strategy at Code and Theory. We're an agency at the intersection of creativity and technology. We like to say to people that we have 50% creatives, although everyone really is a creative these days, and 50% technologists, engineers, developers. We have offices near shore, offshore, and then, of course, we're based out of New York. We're a part of the Stagwell holding company, so same like Kristin, if you would like to come check us out, please pop on over to Sport Beach. But we really work 360 in CX, and so we have a lot of DNA in creating digital products, and then now that extends into creating full digital ecosystems on behalf of brands and the experiences that go along with it.
I want to get deep into that, I know, based on our prep session. Let me put this question out to both of you. Kristin, starting with you again. Thinking about the variety of brands that you oversee and manage and that JPMorgan Chase represents and market, is there a consistency of through line in any kind of brand building that you're able to approach with your brands? Or is every brand and every campaign different based on the goals that you're trying to achieve?
I'm going to say a little bit of both. You know, I think the through line is consistency and quality, insights driven. We have an incredible insights team at JPMorgan Chase, and they're a bit of our super secret power, really leveraging them to drive and build the foundational insights for our campaign work. But then, of course, Chase is the bank for all, but there are many different products that satisfy different customer target groups. Sapphire is for those who love to dine and love premium experiences, but love to travel. Freedom, it's a bit of a different psychographic model. This is somebody who's really looking to ensure that they have real value in how they spend every dollar and the economic value that they drive. So when we think about building campaigns, it's really starting with that insight and ensuring that we are using that insight to drive smart, crisp creative that connects with that customer.
And you know those customers well, so you're able to define who they are, who you're targeting, and then if you're breaking through and meeting the objectives. We'll get to measurement in a little bit, but that makes a ton of sense. Stacy, how about you? You represent a variety of brands. You're probably working on a lot of different campaigns any given quarter, month, day.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to how Kristin answered, even just within the JPMorgan portfolio, JPMorgan Chase portfolio, I should say. There is a singular brand purpose, and I don't mean purpose as in, what's your social impact brand, but a singular role that every brand plays in the lives of its, stakeholders, not even just its customers, but all of its employees, anyone who interacts with it. And so we will always want to stay true to building towards reinforcing that trust that you have of the role that the brand plays. But at any given moment in time, depending on what we're working on, the metrics and the measurement involved can be completely different. And so one of the things that I like about the time that we're in now is, when I got started out in my career, the tools that exist today were just pipe dreams. It was like, maybe one day we'll be able to tie together, what someone's doing in their life as a, basketball player with how they're spending when they're at the grocery store. We couldn't do any of that. Now we have all those tools, and so what that's enabling is we actually can sit and use our brains and think about what are we trying to accomplish, trusting that the tools are going to do a lot of the validation and the evidence finding for us. And so it's a fun time, yeah. But a lot of new metrics are coming out of that at the same time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Your agency, as you mentioned, sits at the intersection of creativity and technology. And so you're seeing this every day. Maybe you could give us an example of how technology is driving creativity, how your agency uses technology to harness ideas in the way you were just mentioning. It could be a specific campaign, don't have to name the name, but would love to hear some examples of maybe how you're driving the industry forward and technology is there as a co-pilot.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's any strategists in the room by training, but it's a great time to be a strategist right now, I will say. So like many people, I have never had creative in my title, but I've always, wanted to gravitate towards that style of work. And I think now is the time that even strategy is a creative exercise. And so just like a creative maybe has been trained on, putting together a very generative piece of, visual art that can be used for commercial purposes, I think us strategists are getting to use now human behavior as our canvas. Like, I try to go with that approach all the time. So just an example that, comes to life in our work frequently is really going out and looking at, okay, what are people doing? And then how can we start to nudge that behavior towards telling the brand story that we want to tell? And so we work with Yeti, client in the outdoor space, and they were having launching a backpack that had been recalled, and so they're having to combat the mental barrier of why should you use this? Why should we prove that we have really authentically studied the consumer who this is for? They had this insight where people who were real extreme hikers could not go on and map their hikes beforehand because Google Maps has a street view and it has a terrain view, but the terrain view is not showing you all the different windy paths that exist in a top hiking destination. And so we actually flipped it and said we're going to build on top of Google Maps, seeded this backpack out to a bunch of real authentic people in the community, and had them map the gaps in the maps and put together a platform where all of that information could be housed and that experience could be housed. And that's an example of, there's a real behavior that already exists. Now, how do you turn that behavior into a creative canvas for the brand?
Great example. So they had a GPS device in their backpack, I'm guessing, in some way?
Yeah, well, we all have a GPS device in our
phones.
pocket.
Yeah, that's amazing. Right, I hear you can ski down the Alps with Google Maps now, and in a similar way. That's exciting. Kristin, in thinking about the audiences you mentioned, the profiles, the cohorts of who you're going after, you're probably doing studies to understand those people better. But I'd really like to know how you conduct those studies, how you understand who those people are, what their interests are, maybe looking at their behavior in other aspects of their life. You know a bit about what these cohorts spend, but what do they do in their lives, and then how are you present in their lives as a result of, spending is a big part of what we do, but it maybe goes in concert with enabling us to attend a concert or to go somewhere that we enjoy being.
Yeah, I think the answer to that is quite simple. We do a lot of listening. And we meet often with our target segments and demographics, and we do a ton of qualitative and a ton of quantitative data. We test everything. We even test creative at times, and we have a constant feedback loop from these different segments. And these are the things that allow us to move into new spaces where you might think are a little bit interesting for a financial institution to move into. So something like travel. We know that we have people who spend and love travel. And this is not just like a passion, this is who they are, this is a badge that they wear with honor. You get into these focus groups and, you know, there's a cohort of this Sapphire Reserve customer who is in a spreadsheet. They make the itinerary, they will not let anyone else touch it, and they only trust one other friend in their entire friend group that has the same taste level of them. They obsessed over the details, and we want to obsess over those details for them too. So when we move into things like airport lounges, for instance, this time last year, we launched our first airport lounge in the US, which is in Boston, New York, LaGuardia, JFK, and many more to come. And really it's about taking that insight, listening to our customer, understanding the pain points that happen in an airport. Everybody flew here. We all know how hectic and terrible like the airport experience can be. So having an oasis of the lounge where you can step through the threshold and really sort of take that breath and have your moment of leisure, relaxation begin once you enter into the lounge. And then it's about like, well, what does somebody want in a lounge? Well, we know that our Sapphire customer loves food, so we got to have a great chef partner. Loves cocktails, so if you're in LaGuardia, you can absolutely get an appetite cocktail, custom crafted for the lounge. And these are the details that we found and that we listen to from our customers that help us build the best experiences.
I love that. It's true, it's human, it's life. It's a great segue to a topic we wanted to cover today, which is the human element of marketing. We all flew to Cannes, although I did meet one guy today who took a bus. 6-hour bus ride. But we chose to be here in person because of the human element of being together and sharing time together. I came from the West Coast, and it's a journey. But as soon as you touch down, in fact, before you touch down, you're making connections. I saw an old friend from Google. I heard her name. She was late for the plane at SeaTac, and she made it. And we had brunch at Heathrow, and so we're already making connections, and we're doing that all the time, all week while we're here. I'd love to hear from you both about the human element of everything. We're talking about technology, but we are people, and technology hopefully is making people better, smarter. We can make decisions quicker. Stacy, do you want to take that one and just tell us a bit about the human element of everything we're talking about with technology?
I'd love to. And actually, this is maybe a build on the great example that you just shared with the Sapphire Lounges. All the brand really comes down to is the delta between someone's expectations and their real, actual experience. And so I think that, we do fly in for things like this because 9 times out of 10, the IRL experience that you have with a person is going to blow past those expectations that you've built with them on Zoom or on Teams or whatever your video conferencing tool of choice is. And so there's a real kind of human canvas and palette of colors that we can paint with that's available to us when we are together in these real life situations that allows us to see what some of those smaller behaviors are that we can start to kind of nudge our way into to tell the brand story. And so a lot of what we do is, really just trying to think about technology, but not using the word technology, if that makes sense. Like thinking about technology as an enabler of things that are just ambient and happening in the environment today. And so it's kind of an ecological view on things, but everything at the end of the day is human.
That's a great description, I think, of how AI is affecting our lives. It's technology that isn't feeling like technology to a certain extent. A woman from Expedia was on the stage earlier this morning talking about how a travel bot powered by ChatGPT can help people make the 1 million different decisions when booking a travel vacation and boil it down to 2 or 3, package A, B, or C. And it felt normal, it felt human. Could you talk to us, maybe starting with you, Stacy, about AI bringing in a human element, how you've leveraged AI in your business, and how you see it becoming sort of a human, relevant aspect of what we do and helping us do our jobs?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to give one quick kind of provocative example, I guess. But then I'll speak about how we use it in our work. I do think that in AI and like with every technology, you have to assume that at a certain point, everyone is going to be using this in their workflows. And so just like a message to our industry, people should not be getting so hung up with, oh, should I, go back to school and, learn these things, or should I take this class, or like, what are you doing with XYZ tool? If it's a great tool, everyone's going to be using it someday. So our real advantage is actually that we know what humans are doing. We know how to interact when we're around humans. We know the little nuances of, things that are maybe not showing up in the tools that are available to us yet, but will very soon. And so if we can keep our edge by always staying present in the moment and being human in the moment, that is what we as creatives, really have to our advantage. It's the number one tool in our tool belts. And so, yes, we are using that in lots of ways throughout our workflow. But I always like to tell people, don't go back to school, please. I actually made the mistake of, I was working in kind of a cross-section marketing org once upon a time that was between data science, consumer intelligence, and traditional marketing brand, and went back to Berkeley to get a master's in data science and realized that it was it was great. It's great at cocktail parties, but it was, for all intents and purposes, in my day-to-day work, I would have been much better served by pinning myself down for a day, maybe even just half a day, and thinking through what are all the workflows that I go through as a brand strategist, and then trying to cobble together what's the right kind of MarTech stack for me that would support all those workflows. And so we're doing the same thing within Code and Theory. We have, as an example, an AI persona tool that we have built for one of our clients, but we now, just use this way of thinking across all of our clients. It essentially partners, data that we have available in a secure way, I should say, through first party through our clients with second, third party data, even, sometimes desk research that we're doing. We can put all of that together into a model of a person or a model of a panel and use it to do just always on creative optimization. So think of it like having a focus group, except it's available all the time. It's getting more, I'll just say you, just for the sake of being simple in this description, but it's getting more you in that it's getting more like the person as much as we use it. And we're able to, run basic, I won't call it creative testing, but more like creative sanity checks with these always-on AI panels.
It becomes another tool in toolbox, and I think some of the work that our teams do is, we have this incredible in-house insights team, and we do a lot of the hard research, but then working with agency partners to help us utilize some of the newer tools to validate and as you said, nudge it forward. I love. I think when it comes to AI, and I'm going to speak on behalf of myself as an individual and not the firm, because I work in a very highly regulated industry, it's really about just gaining practice with the tools. And I had realized that it's not something that I have integrated into my day-to-day or my weekly or my monthly in any real way. And I think it's starting to build that muscle. And there's a professor at HBS, Kareem Lakhani, who's a brilliant mind. And he says the tools are the worst they'll ever be. Right? They'll only get better from here. So as painful as it might be right now, it will only get better from here. I think when it comes to like the human aspect, you asked about like the technology and the human to human, like the power of connection and being in a room of people like we are and being in this beautiful place and having these one-on-one human interactions can never be replaced. So how do we integrate, and you see this often in some of the Gen Z research that we do. It is about putting the technology down and creating a safe space. And I will say like some of these younger people are much better and have built healthier habits with technology than I myself have. So I think it's something that we have to kind of retrain ourselves. And as we look to build experiences or products for a Gen Z demographic, it is really taking that into consideration as we're thinking about when the technology has an integral part and when it takes a step to the side or when it's even backstage.
When you say healthier relationship, I feel like the younger people are on technology more. Is that what you mean too, or a better
It might be
balance?
more, but it's also like creating hard boundaries.
Okay, good. Right, that makes a ton of sense. And it kind of touches on the topic I wanted to get to, which was future market trends. You know, AI is certainly one of them, and feel free to elaborate more on that. But starting with you, Kristin, what future market trends do you see? Clearly, humans not being replaced at Cannes, we've established that. But what do you see for the industry over the next 2 to 3 years? I think 2 to 3 is about as far as we ever want to look at, maybe 5. But for advertising, if you want to touch on the media networks, great. If not, from a brand advertising perspective.
Yeah, I'll speak more on like the brand component of it. I think it's and we touched on this a little earlier. It's not manufacturing a campaign. It is finding the real truth and amplifying that in a way that resonates with audiences. And I think authenticity is a word that you'll probably hear 1 million more times than while you are here. But I think it really is about finding the real truth that resonates and using that as a way to drive stories and create connection, rather than something that may seem manufactured or a gimmick in such. People see through that, and the details matter to the people that matter. And so when you think about creating real stories for our target demographic, I borrowed that line from somebody on the stage the other day. But when you think about really the stitching, like people can have access to the data now, so it's about making sure that it's resonant and it's real.
Stacy, future trends?
I mean, one that I actually was just over lunch with one of Kristin's colleagues talking about a lot. One that I'm just like, when I think about it more and more, I get so excited. But HBR published a piece of research in 2020 that said that 25% of Gen Z is planning on changing their gender identity at least once in their lifetime. And so when you think about the aspects of identity fluidity, it doesn't have to be something as drastic as rethinking your gender, but when you think about just all the many different hats that we wear and all the ways that we have, in some cases, totally different sets of infrastructure that support each of those hats, I think once we start to get into a place where it's just as easy to toggle on and off between those different hats as it is to choose between different cards in your Apple Wallet, we will be at a really cool place, and that place is coming. And so really just thinking about how do we give people the flexibility, or the other example I'll use is like when you go on incognito and search something on Google Chrome instead of your regular search profile, you might have infinite number of those different profiles one day. And so being able to navigate the world and how that integrates with the real world, and also being able to toggle between the multitude of views that you have inside of you, I think is just a really cool trend that technology and branding can support.
It's a little scary about the options, but you're right. It's almost to the trend of fragmentation, right? With fragmentation and kind of personas or options for interfacing with the world, and that's an interesting idea. We're coming to the end of our time. I'd like to get to the advice section. We're touching on that a little bit, but I think this is kind of a good way to round out, although I will, Kristin, have a special request for you to tell us that story of that chase we guys filmed at the Chase Center to end on, because that'll be a good one. But Stacy, starting with you, some advice to marketers in the room, maybe your younger self, if you could just think about advice for somebody else who's approaching the industry right now, and what you would tell them.
Yeah, I mean, I think marketers, we're all curious people, otherwise we wouldn't be in this industry. And marketers love to talk about our curiosity. I think now is the time to be urgently curious. And I think that there is not enough leaning into, how do I try these things, but make them work for me. I think there's a lot of, I've never sensed the jargon being more out of control than it is right now. And I think what that's doing is it's making a lot of people just completely bury their heads in the sand. And rather than doing that and sticking to what we know, yes, we all have just a great knowledge base and great experience working in this industry, and we should not lose that. But it's how do you bring that in to your curiosity, bring that into working with these new tools, even if it's just an experiment that you do, in your personal life. But I think that all starts with having this sense of urgency around our curiosity.
Kristin?
Urgently curious. That's good. I think, often my cohort is domestic, so I think a lot about the U.S.-based audiences, and there are so many incredible things happening globally, whether it be in Brazil with content production, on YouTube. I'm not telling you guys anything that you don't already know, but I think for me, it's really about how do we leverage some of the things that are happening globally, whether it be really interesting pockets in Brazil, whether it be, one of our partners opened an office in West Africa, and we think about, what are the trends that are happening there that we can leverage, and the insights that are happening there that might be finding a home here with U.S. domestic-based audiences. So that's something that's top of mind for me. I think additionally, it's like these what might have been nascent areas like gaming are no longer nascent. So when you think about like urgently curious, like this is happening now. Women's sports is already here. Anybody who's trying to get on that boat is not going to make any good deals. All of them have been done, so you're going to pay a lot for that, but it's going to be worth it. But when we think about these areas of opportunity, it is about really connecting in urgent ways now.
So I'll give you a great example. This just reminded me of something. Our team is right now looking for an open room platform where, people can, we have a remote team, so where people can just drop into a Zoom link or a Teams link or, any of these different platforms that exist. So we started vetting all these platforms, and someone at the same time just serendipitously shared a report about Roblox, some latest and greatest stat that blew my mind. And we were like, wait, should we have our open link as our team just be a Roblox environment, or should it be a Minecraft place? Like somewhere where we want to get, natively the behaviors and the rituals and the things that are happening anyway. Like if it makes no difference to everyone else, like why would we subject ourselves to another Zoom link when we could just have our team online environment be in a place that we want to get to know better ourselves. And so it's, again, just thinking about what are those ways that are just already in our practice, and then how do we lean into the tools.
I like that example because every time I see a Zoom link, you have that little, like, not again. If it's a different link, did your team respond well to that idea?
Yeah. So everyone should have their next meeting in Roblox. It's an internal meeting. Have your meeting in Roblox.
Kristin, will you please share with the team the short story you told us about filming a commercial with Steph Curry?
Sure. So talking about insights driven, we started to hear a little bit of chatter last year about the 20th anniversary of Allen Iverson's practice speech. So who's an NBA basketball? Okay, this guy, John, you know it. And we work with Kevin Hart on the Freedom brand. Kevin is a huge basketball fanatic. Steph Curry is one of our partners. We have the Chase Center in San Francisco, and all of these stars kind of aligned where we brought Allen into the fold. We sort of shot this like spin on the practice speech, which is talking about cash backing, freedom, loves their cash back. And it was just the most fun I have ever had on set. These three guys just in awe of each other and cracking each other up. And you see it come to life in the work. And so when we look at like ways that you can drive authenticity with the demographic, like this is something people were already talking about. We capitalized on the moment and brought it to life in a way that was right for our brand and our audience.
Love it. What a great story. Wish we could have been there, but we can see the finished work. Kristin, Stacy, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts today.
Thanks, Mark.
Sure. John's got a question here up front. I'll repeat the question.
Okay. So, in terms of using AI for producing content, a lot of our clients have started to do, very practical uses of it, creating storyboards or copies and stuff like that. But I think there's sort of this promise that eventually you can, do full-on high-value commercials without hiring production companies and you can get all the assets you want, the stills, the digital, social. How realistic is that? I'd love to.
Okay, so Stacy, you talked about your team existing on Roblox, which I think is really awesome. Kristin, can you tell us how you're creating these environments for your teams to stay, top of mind, creative, innovative, and all of that?
Yeah, we certainly have what I would say like are your foundational collaborative tools, but we're also in person a lot. We've the firm's had a lot of headlines about that, and it is those in-between moments where it is, the spark of the hallway conversation for us in the way that we're working. That's where how we're really manifesting and mobilizing. It is about that human face-to-face dialogue.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. That concludes, I think, our next session. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.